Hello. Let's go to Mota. Itu kita dari basic sama ini. Ya, pada rumah juga. Ketika ada gimana juga, kalau kan di kamar memang yang ya, warga. Sudah tadi ditutup. Kita cari pun video kunjung. Okay.
Where are we?
Taking it like this.
Then tafadhali mute yako na uzime zima video video. Just mute your mic, please.
Kuna bwana alivalia alikuja hapa akavalia. Itarudi hadi jaanza hata kutoa plastic bado.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We are good.
Adam.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining. It's unfortunate that we are having trouble maybe admitting all the students, all the 100 students, but more than 100 students. I hope our technical expertise is working on that. As I was told, there's someone who connects Google Meet to YouTube. I hope he's assisting us. Then thank you for joining. I was thinking maybe I could have met you today in a physical class, but unfortunately I'm unable. Hopefully next week I'll meet you for the recap and summary of the lesson before we close school. Otherwise, today I want to finalize on the last topic. The last topic. I want us to finalize on the last topic. Kindly mute. Kindly mute.
Yeah.
So that I'm able to teach. Asha, mute your microphone. Asha, mute your microphone. Kindly mute. When you leave your microphone on, thank you, Asha. Now, I want us to focus on important aspect of historical study. Important aspect of historical study. I want us to look at the last. Hello, sorry for that. Sorry, I know you were wondering. Sorry. So I want us to look at one of the most important aspects of history, which is the last topic. Oh my. The last topic. Just a minute. Oh my. Hello. So, sorry for that. I want us to look at the following. I want us to look at racism, and the writing of African history. Now, one thing you need to know is that racism, in fact, racist interpretation of history is fairly a recent phenomenon. By 18th century, the term race was used in a non-biological and a vague connotation, whereby at some point, kindly mute. So kindly mute. If you don't mute, I'll remove you from the class. So racism interpretation is a fairly recent phenomenon. It's a fairly recent phenomenon that you need to know about, whereby people have been categorized based on the skin color. People have been categorized based on skin color, whereby we have individuals such as you can talk of the blacks, the European, and also other kinds of races, and Asians, and oh my. So other kinds of races. So various individuals have been involved in writing the African history, like Europeans were involved in writing African history. Also, we can talk of the Africans have been involved in writing African history and etc. But now, what matters the most is what are they writing? The history that they are writing, is it factual? Is it objective? So under that, we have individuals that you'll read about. We have Europeans who have done various histories. We have Africans, they're known as Homo Africanus. We have Europeans known as Homo Europaeus. We also have Asians known as Homo Asiatic. But despite all this categorization of written history into various races, one thing that you need to know is that the most important thing in terms of writing of history is it's about the sources. How can we utilize various sources in relaying historical information? How do we utilize oral sources in relaying information? So, and how do we utilize linguistics in relaying information? So under that, you're going to focus on how oral tradition can be used in reconstructing history. How do you use oral tradition in reconstructing history? One, you'll utilize various aspects of oral tradition to reconstruct the cultural practices of Agikuyu. How do you use oral tradition to reconstruct African history again? We can focus on important aspects of oral tradition that focuses Hello? I don't know why it keeps on locking me outside. I don't know what's happening. Huh? I'm being locked outside the meeting, which is unfortunate. So let's continue. I was talking of oral. How do we use oral tradition? Oral tradition in reconstructing history. Reconstructing history. So, the following are ways in which we can use oral tradition in reconstructing history. One thing you need to know, I've mentioned you can use songs, myths, and etc. Number two, you need to know is that through oral tradition, we preserve cultural memories. So oral tradition captures memory preservation, accounts of historical events, migration, and achievements. So we can use oral tradition to reconstruct people's culture through analysis of historical events, migration, and achievements. Two, how can we use oral tradition to reconstruct history? We can use oral tradition in filling the gap of the written records. We provide oral tradition in filling the gaps. So you're able to acquire information orally concerning the activities of various African tribes, the activities of various indigenous communities. Point number 3. One thing you need to know about, again, oral tradition is that oral tradition is often shaped by the narrator's perspective. So, the narrator's perspective presents information or stories concerning a certain community. From there, we are able to understand the experience of the past and reconstruct the past. Point number 4 or 5, oral tradition. Through oral tradition, we are able to reconstruct we are able to instill values. In fact, oral tradition instills values and norms in our society, whereby you listen to myths, and these myths are meant to guide you. These myths are there to guide you as an individual to ensure that you maintain high standards of moral and also to maintain high standards of values in the society. For example, among the Bukusu, daughter-in-laws are not allowed to greet their father-in-law. So that shows that it's a myth, and that myth was established long time ago, and it has been passed from one generation to another to ensure that there is mutual respect, there is high standard of values and morals between the father-in-law and the daughter-in-law. Another important point that you need to know is that another important point you need to know, just a minute. I think I've mentioned the point on experience. We also have another important point concerning oral tradition, is that through oral tradition, we are able to preserve various cultures, various histories, various genealogies in our society. Through oral tradition, we are able to preserve various genealogies in our societies, various genealogies, cultures, poetry. You are able to preserve them. Even songs, you are able to preserve them through oral tradition. And at the end of the day, those songs will be used in reconstruction of African history. And that's why you can see among the Bukusu community, among the Luya community and other communities, even the Maasai and the Samburu, they have songs. They have circumcision songs. And these songs, they normally sing them before circumcision and after circumcision. So one thing you need to know is that oral tradition acts as a preservative for our cultures, songs, genealogies, oral histories, and etc. So we have looked at several importance of how oral tradition has been used in reconstruction of history. So let's focus on now linguistics. linguistics. Now, under linguistics, in linguistics, it focuses on the scientific study of language. One thing you need to know that it focuses on scientific study of language and how is it used in reconstruction of history. One, through linguistics, we are able to trace the language and migration pattern of various communities. And by tracing the language and migration pattern of various communities, we are able to understand their histories. We are able to understand their origin. We are able to place these groups, these communities into various language groups, depending on linguistic analysis. Point number 2 is that through linguistics, we are able to understand various kinds of words, old words, cultural practices, because when we talk of old words, certain terms can be understood through language analysis. So through linguistics, we are able to analytically and comprehend various kinds of words used by various communities. And also, apart from understanding and analyzing words or terms, we are able to deeply historicize the origin or the etymology of various words in history and also in various cultures. Through linguistics, again, we are able to reconstruct history of various languages, because one thing for sure you need to know is that languages sometimes they tend to change. There is dynamism in languages. This is whereby we have continuity and changes in language, continuity and changes in various language. We also, through this linguistic, we are able to understand that there is phonological data to reconstruct certain kinds of terms and languages. So basically, we're able to understand the dynamism of language, changes and continuities of language, depending on the circumstances. Another important point, through scientific study of through scientific study of language, we are able to analyze the distribution of language across the region, or to analyze the distribution of language across the region. This is because regions have maybe communities such as the Luos and etc. So those are some of the reasons why we need to study linguistics in terms of reconstruction of history. So basically, we need linguistics in reconstruction of history. We need so many other important sources in the reconstruction of history. So we cannot just sit there and say, as historians, we don't need these sources. We don't need these sources as historians. No, that will be a lie. Because at the end of the day, how will you reconstruct the past without understanding the sources of information? One thing you also need to know is that how to use linguistics to reconstruct, how to use linguistic history. And you need to understand, because these linguists, they use various kind of terms. We are